The last time you saw me, I was quitting YouTube, pretty publicly. I even went on a podcast to do so.
Andy, before we get in to what you came in here for, besides from announcing that you're quitting,
So, how did I go from there to here? Welcome to the Vegas video series.
Did I mess up my position? Your range. Oh yeah, I know my directions.
Seven card flush, poker vlog. Take one.
3 weeks ago, I was given the opportunity of a lifetime, a trip to Las Vegas. I've secured my flight, I've secured my room, but I still need to build my bankroll. My first bankroll building session wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I'm rusty, I'm nervous, and I'm playing super passively. I can't let that stop me though. I'm going back to Orange City to continue the grind.
In the first hand of the night, we're straddling from the button and we look down at Jack 6 offsuit. There are 3 early position callers before it gets to me, and I'm going to make a mistake nice and early tonight. I check. We're in the straddle. You simply have to be raising here. Checking is going to get you in all sorts of trouble, but I check. We'll go 4 ways to the flop. The flop is Jack 8-4 with 2 diamonds, so I flop top pair with a terrible kicker. It checks to under the gun, who continues for $15. When he bets, I feel it's probably a jack, but it could be a flush draw. The cutoff then makes the call, so now I think I'm getting a good price, so I go ahead and call. The big blind calls as well, so we're still 4 ways. The turn is a 2 of spades. It's a pretty big blank. It checks over to under the gun again, who continues for $25, leaving like $20 behind. The cutoff folds, and I mean, it has to be a jack, but it's either fold top pair or commit a stack. I hate this situation, but I feel like I'm kind of handcuffed, so I jam. The big blind folds, but of course under the gun does in fact call, so we'll see the river. The river is a 4 of spades, and under the gun flips over Jack 10. So truth be told, I wanted to fold at the turn, but if I folded top pair on the vlog, you guys would absolutely roast me in the comments. So instead, I played this way, and you guys can still roast me in the comments. There's another button straddle. We're in the small blind this time with pocket 10s. I'm going to open the action for $15. We get a call from under the gun. We also see calls from the cutoff and the button, so once again, we're 4 ways to a flop. The flop is 4-4 deuce rainbow, so a pretty great flop for my hand. I'm going to continue for $50. I'm happy to start building this pot now and play a big one, but the bet is too big and they all fold. We're in the cutoff this time and we look down at King 10 offsuit. There's 1 call before it gets to me and I bump it up to $12. Only the low jack calls, so we'll play this hand heads up in position. The flop is Queen 10-4 with 2 diamonds, so I flop middle pair and a backdoor flush draw. It checks to me, and I'm going to c-bet my entire range and position, so I continue for $20. It's back over to the low jack and he calls, so we'll see a turn. The turn is a jack of clubs, so now I've picked up an open-ended straight draw as well. The low jack checks again, and I think I probably need to continue betting, but I opt to just check behind. The river is a 7 of diamonds. It's just an awful card, and now the low jack leads out for $50. The way the hand is played, it could be a weak queen or maybe a flush. If that isn't a 7 of diamonds, I might call this one, but I'm going to have to fold here. The very next hand, we're in the hijack with 9-8 offsuit. There are 3 limps before it gets to me and I bump it up to $15. We end up getting 3 callers, so we'll see the flop 4 ways. The flop is 8-7-4 rainbow, so I have top pair. It checks over to me, and while this flop maybe isn't supposed to crush my range, I'm happy to have top pair here, so I continue for $35. Only the low jack calls, so we're heads up. The turn is a 6 of spades. It is definitely not my favorite card. The low jack checks it over to me, and I'm going to go ahead and slow down and check for some pot control. The river is a 9 of diamonds, so I rivered 2 pair, but it connects the board even more. My opponent checks again, and this is the second straight gross run out, and I definitely don't want to bet and get raised off my hand, so I just check and announce 2 pair. He looks disappointed, so I know he doesn't have a 5, and we win. We're in the cutoff this time with 8-9 offsuit again. There are 2 early position callers before it gets to me, and once again I'm going to bump it up to $12. The small blind, the big blind, +1 and +2 all call, so this time we're headed 5 ways to a flop. The flop is Jack 7-5 rainbow, so I flopped a double gutter. When it checks to me, I'm going to continue to fire to build this pot. I think there's just a ton of good turn cards that can either help my hand specifically or help the range that I'm going to represent, like a 4, a 6, an 8, a 9, a 10, or a queen. So I bet $40. However, one by one, they all fold. So it's pretty obvious my table is tight, and it's going to be real hard to grind to make things happen today. There's a straddle from the button. We're in the hijack. This time we're playing 8-9, but the suited variety. I love these suited connector hands, so when I see one early position call before it folds to me, I bump it up to $20. We see calls out of the button and under the gun, so we're 3 ways to the flop. The flop is 8-7-3 with 2 diamonds and 1 spade. So once again, I flop top pair. It checks to me, and I don't think this flop necessarily smashes anyone. I do think there are some straight and flush draws out there that might bet, so I decide to go ahead and check. The button takes the bait, and he fires for $35. It's over on the big blind now. He's a pretty tight player. He ends up making the call, and that kind of messed up my plan. I was pretty content with check raising the button's face off to like $105 or $110. However, with this extra money in the pot, I think that's now a tough play. I have about 210 behind, so my stack to pot ratio is just under 2 to 1. I'm pretty sure I have the button beat, but if I don't, what kind of hands can I represent? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to represent a set of 8s here. If I'm raising pocket 8s pre-flop here, I'm probably also raising pocket 7s pre-flop here as well. I think my best course of action here is to check raise and ship it to try to represent one of those sets. That way, I can force the blind out and isolate the button, so I jam. It's over on the button. He's a pretty nice guy. When he was contemplating his moves, he said it's for the vlog, so I know if he calls me, he's going to be doing it light. After about a minute, he calls all in for $170. So now it's back over on the big blind, and he doesn't snap call, which is great. He actually gives it a lot of thought, but ultimately he ends up making the call for less, so we'll see the run out. The turn's an interesting card. It's the 9 of clubs that gives me 2 pair, and the river is the 4 of diamonds. The button shows Jack 7 offsuit. I can beat that. The big blind doesn't want to show. I think maybe he has diamond, so I go ahead and flip it over, and then he flips over pocket 3s for bottom set. He said he was very concerned that I had pocket 8s, which is exactly the kind of hand I was trying to represent. So I think I played the hand well, just unfortunate that I ran into it.
One area that my game has always lacked is bluffing. The players at Orange City are pretty loose, and so to put a bluff together, you've got to have a really good strategy and a story that makes sense. However, if I'm going to survive at Vegas, especially in the bigger games, I've got to incorporate more of this into my game.
We're straddling from the button when we look down at 7-8 of hearts. We see 3 calls before the action gets to me. I'm very happy to put in a raise here, so I make it $25. The small blind calls pretty quickly, and I'm worried it's going to set up a chain reaction of calls. That doesn't happen though. She's my only caller, so we're heads up to the flop. The flop is King 6-4, so I flopped a gut shot. When it checks to me, I'm going to go ahead and c-bet all of my range and position, so I fire for $30. I think I can credibly rep a king, and I have a straight draw to fall back on. She thinks for a little bit and then makes the call, so we'll go to the turn. The turn is a 4 of hearts. It pairs the board. It is not my favorite card. She checks to me again, and I'm probably supposed to continue firing here, but the problem is that we're both kind of short stacked. So if I continue for $60 or $65 here, it's only going to leave me with about $80 behind, and I'll have no fold equity on the river. So I end up just checking behind. The river is a 9 of spades. The small blind checks to me a 3rd time, and I'm sitting here with 8 high in a dream. I have $147 in my stack. She has about the same. I have to make this bet very unappealing, and so I rip it. My opponent goes into the tank. She starts thinking out loud.
Yeah, that's not what you have. A 4 king.
What's that?
You have a 4 king.
I tell you, they don't know what to do. That lets me know you don't have a 4. Okay.
Good. She thinks I have a king or a 4, and truthfully, I think I played both of those hands the exact same way. At this point, I hope she folds so I can flip this over, because I almost never run bluffs, especially ones that make this much sense. She grabs some chips. Oh no. Eventually, after almost 2 full minutes, she folds and I can happily show this bluff. If I want to survive in Vegas, I have to incorporate more of this into my game, and I'm happy it worked out this time. The very next hand, there's another button straddle. We're in the cutoff. This time we look down at 7-8 of spades. There's 4 early position callers before it gets to me, and I bump it up to $20. I probably should have sized up a little bit. We see calls from all 4, so now we're playing this pot 5 ways. The flop is queen, queen, 7, so we flop bottom pair. It checks over to me, and with no interest and position, I'm going to put a c-bet out for $40. If someone connected with this board, I expect we'll hear from them. It folds back over to the big blind, who check raises to $100. The big blind is someone I call coach because he looks a lot like former Bucks coach Bruce Arian, including the Kangol cap. Coach is a pretty straight up player. This bet is a queen all the time, so when it folds back to me, I'm going to go ahead and let this one go.
You got a higher pair? Congratulations. If you have ace king,
I'm not going to bluff again for 6 years.
He shows ace-jack offsuit for the bluff. I never saw it coming from this player, and I guess after what I just did, I had that one coming. We were in the big blind when we looked down at queen 7 of diamonds. We see under the gun open up the action for $10. It folds over to the small blind, who makes the call, and for $8, I'm happy to call as well. We're 3 ways to the flop. The flop is queen jack 7 with 2 clubs, so I flop 2 pair. It checks over to me, and I check, looking for under the gun to continue, but he checks behind. The turn is the ace of diamonds. It checks to me again, and I guess I'm going to have to get money in this pot, but I don't know if that ace is the best card to do it on. So I'm going to bet, but I only make it $7, about 1/4 pot. Apparently it's too much for under the gun, who folds, but the small blind does stick around, so we're heads up to the river. The river is the 2 of hearts, so it's a pretty big blank. The small blind checks it over to me for a 3rd time, and now I'm just betting for pure value. I want to make sure I can get called one more time, so I fire for $25. The small blind doesn't think too long and he makes the call. We roll it over and we're good. We're in +1 and we look down at ace 5 offsuit. We see a limp from under the gun before I bump it up to $10. We're going to get 3 callers, so we're 4 ways to a flop. The flop is 9-5-6 rainbow. When it checks to me, I'm going to go ahead and continue, and I bet $20. I'm looking to fold out some better pairs and charge someone who has a 7 or an 8 to draw to their straight. Only under the gun calls, so we'll play the rest of this hand in position. The turn is a 5 of hearts, so now we've made trips. It checks to me again, and I guess I could slow down and check so that my opponent might fire the river, but there's so many bad river cards, I choose to bet again, this time for $40, but under the gun pretty quickly folds.
As a poker vlogger, people gain insight to my game all the time because I put it on YouTube and I talk through my exact thought process throughout the entire hand. But something I rarely get to do is know what other people are thinking when they're facing off against me in a hand. But luckily for me, I got put in a position to do exactly that.
We're straddling from the button and we look down at 5-6 offsuit. There are 4 callers before it gets to me. We won't be playing for $5. I make it 20, probably a little bit small. Instead of folding anybody out, we actually go 5 ways to a flop in a completely bloated pot. The flop is 5-6-3 all spades, so we flop 2 pair on a super wet and connected board. It checks over to me, and my hand needs some protection, so I bet $45. Again, probably on the small side. We see a call from under the gun, but everybody else folds, so we're heads up. The turn is a jack of clubs. It's probably a blank here. Once again, it checks to me. I have less than a pot-sized bet left. There's really only one move, and so I jam. My opponent enters the tank. His name is James. He's a content creator on YouTube, and he's a super smart player. I put him right up there with Roy and Anthony, probably one of the best 1-2 players at Orange City. James is a super nice guy, and he's a fan of the vlog, and it puts me in a unique position to offer a proposition.
You want to talk your thought process out for the vlog? I'm not allowed to answer, though. The boss made that very clear.
Chantel's trick.
If you want to, I will. If you want it, I will.
I'd love to analyze what you're thinking. I just can't say anything.
I don't have that good of a hand. I don't have a flush. I have a pair. I heard you talking about making a huge bluff earlier. Your Your bet pre-flop doesn't seem like you. It seemed like you bet bigger if you had ace king. I have a king, so it makes it less likely that you have ace king. Makes it me think you have like aces or queens with a spade or something, which I don't beat. But I know you're capable of bluffing, so like Jack could have hit you, Queen, Jack, spade or something.
This one, I make a bet.
I like this.
I just know you're capable of bluffing. What's that? What's that? Can I get an account, please?
He went all
I have a very bad hand. Like ace king and spades.
167.
167. Pre-flop was 100. I was the only caller, I think.
Can I see?
It's like a pot-sized bet.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I have a king, so it's less likely you have ace king. Like, ace king's like the only hand I can beat. My hand's really bad. My hand's. If I call, you'll see my hand. I don't even have a spade. I don't even have a spade. That's the problem.
I think you got to win.
Is that a call?
Called.
Oh, wow.
The river is a 9 of spades. It seems scary, but I believe James when he says he doesn't have any spades. He does show me the king of diamonds, and he mucks, so we win a really cool pot here. It was really interesting to hear his analysis of my play. I rarely get to hear what people were actually thinking when playing against me, so I really appreciate this unique perspective.
I trusted you there.
It's bomb pot time, and truth be told, I don't know if you guys like watching these or hate watching these. I can tell you this, I hate doing the graphics for them. But if you enjoy them, we're in the cutoff and we have ace king offsuit. The flop on the top board is king jack 2 with 2 clubs, so I flop top pair. The flop on the bottom board is queen 10-5 rainbow, so we flopped a gut shot. It checks to early position who bets $30. We see a quick call from the hijack. It's on to me, and I think there's definitely merit to raising to try to fold out other hands that might be beating me on the bottom board. However, at Orange City, people do not like to fold during bomb pot, so I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with a call. We also get a call out of the big blind, so we're 4 ways to the turn. The turn on the top board is a 2 of spades, so it pairs the board, and the turn on the bottom is a 4 of clubs, not a card that helps me. It checks around to me, and a bet here is fine. Probably the correct move, but without improving at all, I decided to just check behind. The river on the top board is a 3 of diamonds, so it should be a blank, and the river on the bottom board is a queen of spades, so it pairs the board. It checks around to me again, and with showdown value on the top, I opt to just check. I announce my hand, and the hijack has a 5. Who knew he'd be so weak in that spot? Essentially betting on the board that he was actually losing. I gotta get better at playing these double board bomb pots, but I'll take the chop. We're in the cutoff, and we look down at queen 10 offsuit. We see limps from the low jack and hijack before I bump it up to $12. We see a call from the big blind before it folds back to the limpers, who also both call, so we're off to a flop in position 4 ways. The big blind checks dark as we see a flop of 10-8-6 with 2 clubs, so we flop top pair. It checks over to me, and I put out a c-bet of $20. I'm looking to get value out of a hand like 2 overs, or maybe a worse pair like an 8, or even a straight draw. It folds over to the low jack who calls, which brings along the hijack, so we're headed to the turn 3 ways. The turn's a 3 of spades, seems like a pretty big blank. It checks to me again, and with such a blank, I think I can continue betting, and so this time I make it $55. It folds back over to the low jack, who's giving it a lot of thought. Perhaps it's a hand like 7-8 or 8-9 or maybe 10-jack, a pair plus straight draw type of hand. He eventually does make the call. When the hijack folds, my plan is to put out a healthy bet on any safe river. The river is a 4 of diamonds, seems pretty damn safe. The low jack checks to me again, and so I'm going to stick to the plan, and I fire for $150. My opponent goes into the blender here. As he thinks, I'm wondering if he has a busted flush draw, and he's trying to figure out if I'm betting for value or as a bluff. After about 30 seconds, he does make the call. I show my hand, and he flips over king 10 offsuit for top pair with a better kicker. Overall, I'm happy with how I played the hand, especially firing on the river. It's just kind of unfortunate to run into a better kicker. There's a button straddle, we're in the hijack, and we look down at king jack of hearts. James, over in the small blind, puts in a raise to $15. It folds over to the low jack who makes the call. With the action on me, I think this is a great spot to put in another raise, and so I bump it up to $60. It's over to the button, who wastes no time ripping his stack for 109 total. Folds all the way back over to me, and while I'm not in love with the spot, I'm never folding here for $50 more, so I call and we'll see a run out. The flop is Jack 10-8, so I flop top pair. The turn is a 6 of diamonds, and the river gives us 2 pair with the king of spades. My opponent shows ace 3 of spades for nothing, and so we get some of our money back. While I don't love the way things have unfolded, it's good to see that this table is loosening up a little bit. Or so I thought. Over the next hour, I go pretty card dead, and then 2 out of the 3 stacks rack up about 5 minutes apart from each other, so I'm going to politely fold one more orbit and then rack up. Or so I thought. The poker gods have a funny way of doing things. In the final hand of the night, we're straddling from the button and we look down at ace-king offsuit. We see calls from the big blind and the cutoff before it gets to me, and I bump it up to $20. Both players end up making the call, so we'll go to a flop 3 ways. The flop is 10-8-5 rainbow, so I'm sitting here with 2 overs, and the big blind pretty much instantly bets his last $48. And it folds over to me, and I'm just sitting here with overcards and a backdoor straight draw.
I'll take a call.
Should have just gone home.
Don't love my hand, but how tight can I be on a vlog? I call. The turn brings us no help with the queen of hearts and the river 2 of clubs, and he flips over king 10 and wins. I should have just skipped the pleasantries and racked up. I forgot an important rule of poker. Don't do your opponents any favors. It's okay though. I'm headed up to the mountains tomorrow, and so I'm just going to go ahead and rack up and get ready to enjoy a vacation.
This is really, really beautiful. I am not a man that came from money. I came from working class parents, and sure, we had weekends on the boat in the Florida swamp lakes, but the views here are just incredible. If you are a viewer of mine from Florida and you're like me and you don't travel much, get the out of the swamp, because there is some really, really beautiful stuff all around us. For that session, into the game for 400, out for 315, worth every dollar for a view like this. If you enjoy, like and subscribe. See you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.